Green. There we are. What's going on, everyone? Happy Wednesday, the 26th of the month. Very interesting day to say the least. Not because we have this show to talk about, but listen, ladies and gentlemen, on a more serious note, before we get into today's festivities, why aren't we talking about this? We're talking. Is the screen being shared? Why aren't we talking about real scrolls? Oh my gosh. It's an alien invasion. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. On a serious note, no, like I don't know if you guys have been watching. I haven't watched the full clips, or not the full clips, but I haven't watched the live presentation of this discussion about UFOs, or I don't know the new acronym that they have given the extraterrestrials. But my goodness, the scrolls are here, y'all. Where is Nick Fury? Better yet, where is Gaia? Where is Gaia? We need her to defend this earth because my gosh, she has it all, y'all. But listen, we are here to discuss the finale of Secret Invasion series season finale. At this point, I don't know what shows are going to season two. As we know, low key possibility of Moon Knight and Miss Marvel. The only ones has been confirmed, I guess. Oh, not confirmed, but like in rumors to have second seasons. But I'm just going to say this is the season one finale of the new Marvel series that went by the name of Secret Invasion. And this episode was titled Home, as we see Nick Fury trying to battle many different battles. He's trying to get the president to not loop the nukes on Russia. Meanwhile, he's trying to talk to Gravik, and we'll talk about that reveal. And we got this big fight, and we got Rhodey and Agent Look, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm gonna be as positive as possible. I'm gonna bring up things that I did enjoy about this finale, and obviously talk about the show as a whole. But I'm gonna be quite frank as well. This episode just was very disappointing on a lot of different levels, and I'll get into my reasons why. So, but before we get into all that, man, I wasn't able to join you all live last week. If you guys follow the channel, last week was a pretty awesome week for me being a movie fan and a critic or whatnot. Several movies I saw last week, new movies that are currently on the channel as far as my reviews. And I have some other reviews coming in the coming weeks, but it was a busy week. And I say all that to say I wasn't able to set up the stream. Hell, I wasn't even able to watch episode 5 to like 4 or 5 days after it released. So my apologies. I wasn't able to join you all last week. I have seen episode 5. Brief thoughts on that. Didn't like it. But we are leaving that in the past, and we're here to focus on today's season 1 finale of this show. But before we get into all the fun stuff and some of the not so fun stuff, let me say what's up to everyone joining me here. Caitlin, it's the next day where you're at, and I always appreciate seeing your name in the comments. Are we X-Men now? I don't know what's going on at this point, Caitlin. As we'll talk about today, my enthusiasm, excitement for Marvel right now is it might be at a I won't say all-time low, but I'm just not as jazzed for the future of Marvel right now. Not just based on this show, but just in the last few weeks. Honestly, I've just been kind of looking at some projects from Marvel, MCU in particularly, and just obviously there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that are going to be, delaying some projects, rightfully so, because these writers and actors need to make a living, and they need to be paid. But putting that aside, I'm just not as as hopeful as I was in the past for some Marvel projects. But we'll get into that. X-Men, who knows, Caitlin? Who the freak knows? I mean, hell, who needs the X-Men? Who needs the Fantastic Four when you got Gaia? I mean, we'll get into that. But shout out to Caitlin. What's going on, Kevin? It's good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. My man Johnny Washington, what's up? I thought this episode was rushed and the writing wasn't good. You took the words literally out of my mouth, Johnny. We will get into that. Peace, Ma. How we doing? We got Travis. Hope you're well and that everyone's having fun going back to the MCU to find. Yeah. What's up, Jay? What's up, Coyote? Travis again. I'm in X-Men because yes, there has been a name change in the Twitter sphere, or I should say that I don't even know what to call it, Caleb. I don't even know what to freaking call it. 6 episodes ruined it. It was so rushed. Zia, how you doing? That was watch your tapes, ladies and gentlemen. It was many, many years ago. Well, maybe not that long ago. It was probably like a year ago on the homie Brandon from Just My Opinion. You know, he has this live movie show. And I remember one of the topics that came up was when Secret Invasion was announced to be a show, one of my biggest reservations and fears were this is a big story. 6 episodes seems a little bit, kind of getting the short end of the story. And man, was that the case? Was that the case? Kevin saying very rushed. Who decided on 6 episodes and why did they? I was kind of defending this when that report came out a couple weeks ago about the budget for the show. I was like, it's a big cast. Sam Jackson isn't, a rookie. He's a well-known veteran, iconic actor in his own right. He deserves that paper. Amelia Clark, one of the biggest stars on TV in the last decade with Game of Thrones. She deserves her paper. Academy Award-winning actress and Olivia Colman, Don Cheadle. I mean, the cast is stacked. So I'm like, I thought a lot of that was going towards the cast. And then, of course, they shot during the pandemic, so a lot of reshoots, a lot of pausing, stopping. But as we saw in tonight's episode, one of the biggest reasons why the budget was so high is because they wanted to have the Clash of the Titans. Oh, my gosh. We'll get to that. But, yeah, all right. I'm happy the writers and actors are on strike. This show's seen AI-generated fans deserve better quality. Speak, my friend, speak. What's good, bro? Good to see you. My man, Justin, how we doing? Zia, Kevin and I needed to check out those books. All right, y'all. So let's hold on, a couple more comments. At first, I thought it was going to be 8 episodes. There should have been 10, if we're being honest, scaling, and they should have been an hour apiece. But that's not the case. And that's the thing too. I'm going to get into. Obviously, we all have us fans of these Marvel projects all have these ideas and hopes and aspirations of the shows and movies. Hitting on certain things, and sometimes it don't come to fruition, but you can still appreciate what we got on screen. What we got on screen was pure, not the best stuff, but we will definitely get into. Hold on one second, guys. Let me get my dog set up. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get it going. And also, to the reason I'm a little bit earlier than I did for the previous episode, I think episode 4. I have a movie to attend tonight, so we're gonna try to get this under an hour or so. Obviously, taking the live questions and going wherever the conversation takes us. And of course, Brandon from Just My Opinion Reviews. I know he's going live around 6, and then I believe E-Man's going live at 7. So we're gonna keep it pretty quick in regards to just getting all my thoughts out and interacting with you all before we got to wrap it up to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But anyway, so let's get into my thoughts of tonight's episode. Again, full spoilers for episode 6 of Secret Invasion, which was titled Home. Again, Nick Fury has a lot on his plate in this episode. We're under the assumption that Nick is dealing with Gravik while also trying to get the president taken care of, with Rhodey obviously being a Skrull. And in the midst of all that, we have a lot of stuff. This is just my initial impressions. When I saw this episode was listed at 37 minutes, that made me fearful. But I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I think of shows like completely different genre, completely different network, but it still sticks my point. Atlanta, one of the greatest shows of all time, if you ask me. Atlanta, Donald Glover, Brian Tyree Henry, Zazie Beetz, Lakeith Stanfield, one of the greatest shows of all time. Those episodes were like 30 minutes, right? And there's many other examples of shows that have 30-minute run times and they can still pack so much within 30 minutes. And, so 30-minute episodes don't always have that, for me, a stigma like, oh, they can't really give me what I want because it's so limited time. You can do a lot in 30 minutes. That's what she said. But but no, she so I was like, 37 minutes. We'll see. We'll see if they can wrap all this up. Give me, and again, knowing it's Marvel, not all the answers will be given to us on a silver platter, understanding that. But I'm like, we got to figure out this Rhodey situation. the scrolls infiltrating the government, at what extent, how long have they been doing this? We got nukes, we got tension between Russia and America. We got Nick Fury dealing with his wife. We got Gaia dealing with the death of her mother and the death of her father. Talos really did. Maria Hill really did. So there was just a lot that I was just like, let's see if they can do it. And man, I'm going to be upfront with y'all before we actually break it down. This episode was like a bullet train, man. They just ran through the story and the plot and the characters in little to no development. And not to dive too deep into episode 5, which I'll just, like I said up top, I wasn't the biggest fan of episode 5. Reason being, that was also rushed. But this whole harvest situation, let me take this down for a second before I can look at y'all. The harvest, which was, as we found out last week, was DNA that Nick Fury had gathered. I should say he had the scrolls and led by Gravik to, first off, the understanding of that to me is just like just scraping up blood and putting it all in a vial and like not distinguishing whose blood is who. So it's just all mixed up in one little tiny. Anyway, it's comic book, so I'll let that be. He has this vial called the Harvest, and the Harvest is compiled of all of the DNA from all of the Avengers, and as we find out in this episode, not just the Avengers, but the enemies as well. So all of this in a little vial. And the thing that made me so frustrated last week, and I was praising, Kingsley Benadir is still a great actor. I was really intrigued by the character of Gravik, and the only thing that was the biggest issue for me the last 5 weeks was like, where is this kind of hatred stemming from? Is like annihilating the world and humanity. That still was an answer to me. But just putting that aside for a second, when episode 5, when Gravik said, "Listen, Fury, I'll throw away all this war, end of the world stuff if you just give me the harvest." When he said that, I'm like, so you just threw away all the previous 4 episodes to replace it with this MacGuffin, essentially. That really frustrated me because everything that was built up to this show for me was just the whole idea of scrolls infiltrating and knowing the comics and how they use the Avengers as the infiltration, taking the lead. They took some government officials, but the main thing of the comics was taking over the Avengers. And obviously we know they couldn't do this with the show because right now, who are the Avengers, if we're being honest with each other? But anyway, the idea that the scrolls have been infiltrating different levels of the government, the highest levels of the government, that was so intriguing to me because it's almost endless possibilities and just the spy espionage. Who can you trust? The paranoia of it all. To me, episodes 1, 2 really kind of hit on those notes. Episode 3 gave me some great character moments with, Fury, his wife, all that stuff. But then as we pivot into this back half of the show, it was almost like it reminded me so much of, kind of in a lesser extent, I really enjoyed Miss Marvel, the first half of Miss Marvel, because it focused on Kamala, her family, teenage, coming of age. That stuff was really intriguing to me from a genre perspective. But then they shifted into, oh yeah, we got to do superhero stuff. So let's just make up a villain and let's just have sparkles and fights and just kind of nonsensical narrative to wrap up the show. And that's where Miss Marvel kind of lost its steam for me. And the same thing could be said about Secret Invasion. All that intrigue, political stuff going on in the first 3 episodes, infiltrating the governments, who's been a scroll for how long, who else do they have under their control? All that stuff was like some X-Files stuff. And I was really engaged. Then they give us the harvest, and then they give us this Dragon Ball Z fight in the sky, which is just another trope that Marvel has yet again done on one of their series of not sticking and landing. And I still stand on this. And I know some people, whatever. Low key to me is still the crown jewel of a series, not just because they did stick the landing with the show and the premise of the show, but every episode led to how things wrapped up. I can't say that about a lot of other shows. I give WandaVision a little bit of leeway, even though I didn't like the whole spectacle of Agatha and Wanda fighting in the sky. That was just kind of left field and kind of took away all the stuff that was built up to that point. But it still kind of hit home with Wanda saying goodbye to the children, saying goodbye to Vision, all that stuff. But every other show since then, Hawkeye, Kingpin randomly popping up, Echo being thrown away, Moon Knight, we got kaiju monsters fighting in Egypt. You know, it's a lot of this stuff that I'm getting at. It's just like it's almost like they forget that they've been sticking to this particular narrative and keeping it mostly grounded in reality. Of course, this is fantastical. There's monsters and supernatural. There's gods. There's the robots taking on. Obviously, there's that fantastical element within the layers and the foundation of the MCU. But all these shows are built on these human stories, grounded stories, and then they just bam, forget all about it. They did that in today's episode, man. So that's one of many rants. Let's get back into the breakdown. Again, we're going to try to keep it under an hour. I'm going to try to keep my rants to a bare minimum. But we open the episode again. This is the stuff that I was really intrigued by. Yes, it might be lackluster or entertaining value, but the idea of Nick Fury loving Priscilla Vera and this conversation he had, this is one of those things where it's just like, I don't know if any people in the live chat or watch us on replay, if you've been in a loving relationship, right? And maybe things didn't work out and things aren't working out and you might be going your separate ways, but you still have that love for the person. As Nick is calling his wife, he's just like, he has no purpose of calling her. He just wants to hear her voice, because he might not make it home, as the title alludes to. So he's just calling her, shooting the shit with her, just being like, I've always wanted to call. I had this number on my phone, but I never doubted it. But now I might need to doubt it because it might be the last time he talks. So he doesn't know what's going to happen, the end result to everything he's about to go through in this episode. So like little moments like that reminded me of the stuff that I really liked about the show, is again, getting at who this super spy Nick Fury is, and getting that relationship on this show was one of the highlights for sure. So like again, I'm going to point out things that I appreciated throughout this breakdown. Again, small little moment, should have got more of it. And again, I applaud both the performances by Nick Fury and the actress that plays Vera and Priscilla, because again, the show's established they've been a thing for 30 plus years, but we've obviously have never seen her ever until episode 2 or 3. I thought the actress did such a good job to me of giving us enough of the emotions and the performance to kind of convey what the 30 years could have looked like for us that we saw off screen. It was filled with love, man. So again, a little small moment, but a moment that I appreciated because again, it's the human story and it's also a more grounded, relatable story that I really do applaud from this show and giving it from a perspective of, again, the super spy, the best spy of them all in Nick Fury. But as we pivot over to kind of the weakest elements of this particular episode, we pivot over to Mr. Rhodey, who we all know is a Skrull. He's trying to convince the president that, we need to push the button. We need to set the war. Russia, they attacked you, Mr. President. You need to make it be known that you aren't no one to with. America isn't even one to be pushed over. We need to send a message and start this war. And the president, who we'll talk about at the end of this episode, he's torn between doing the right thing and maybe calling off this nuke and this nuclear war, this World War III potentially. And he's, that stuff to me, it would it would have been like very edge of your seat, kind of like thrilling type of situation. Like, oh man, what should the president do? But we don't really know this guy, right? We just met this president a couple episodes ago. They kept cutting. Oh my gosh, we'll talk about the editing in this episode. When they cut from Gaia and Gravik fighting to the hallway scene, it's just a perfect example of how messy the show is. But that is kind of what's going on the grounded level from the president perspective. Is he's getting kind of the devil on his shoulder, in this case, Rhodey, telling him what to do, how to do it, when he should do it, and Rhodey's making his case of like, listen, forget all that nonsense, man. We're at war with the Russians, who are in collaboration, who are in cahoots with these shape-shifting aliens. So right now things are looking good in a sense of, Gravik's plans and everything going on with the Skrulls. So now, again, that we keep cutting between these two things. Okay, that stuff's going on with the president. Now pivoting over to Nick Fury. And now knowing that Nick Fury was Gaia, obviously impersonating him, shapeshifting into him. This is an example to me. So she sees Beto, right? Who I could have sworn was going to be a bigger character in the show based on the first 2 episodes of like, okay, we get this new Skrull being introduced to Skrullos by Gaia. She's introducing him to the situation. There was many times throughout episode 1, episode 3, that we kept cutting back to Beto. And I'm like, he's gonna Beto someone very important. No, he wasn't. But in this moment, I bring this moment up is because obviously we know that Skaya, but she sees him on the floor, and not just him, but she sees the massacre of what Gravik did to all of his people in last week's episode. As we know, they tried to, kill him, rightfully so, because the man is losing his mind. He's willing to spill his own blood of his species just for his cause. And she had, again, I understand thematically, we're under the assumption that this is Nick Fury. I honestly wish they would have played it a little bit differently, that we would have just known that it was Guy from jump, because obviously all this stuff that's about to be said in the next coming scenes with obviously Gravik venting his feelings on Fury, that really didn't mean anything because that wasn't Fury. But we're seeing Fury again under the assumption that it's Fury. He's looking at all the bodies. He's coughing because obviously the radiation isn't you can't be around this radiation, this level of radiation if you're a human. So again, Fury's kind of playing the role or playing the part. But I'm just like, oh my gosh. It was kind of a dead giveaway to me that it was Fury, or not Fury, but it was Gaia the whole time. But again, they're trying to build that suspense, build you to make you believe that Fury is knocking on hell's door and he's here to, take down his protege or his the person that looked up to him, which is another element of the show that I thought was a missed opportunity that I'm assuming, and again, this is just me assuming it, and I'm assuming you all probably thought the same thing. But I thought this show was going to lead it to, and again, maybe explaining where this hatred towards humans comes from Gravik. Back in episode 2, when we met a young Gravik and we met Vera, it seemed like that was going to be like a little family. That was like a family situation, that Priscilla and Nick adopted him, and he was his son. That was Nick Fury's son, quote unquote son. He raised him, he taught him everything he knew. But we never really established that relationship. So much so, if I'm not mistaken, today's episode was the first time that Gravik and Fury were actually in the same, episode 1, when, Maria Hill died. I guess you can count that as one. But besides that, that was like the only other time they were on screen together. That to me just seems like another missed opportunity to not really lean into how he trusted Fury, not only from like this perspective of, well, you're going to find us a home and make sure that your species is safe, but my dad lied to me. My dad didn't keep his promise. And this is just an example of like the broken promises and the lack of empathy that humanity can show to me. So I'm going to show them my empathy. I'm going to show them my wrath of not giving me that honor, because they're Kree scrolls. They probably have a different honor code, but like, we don't lie to one another. So I'm going to show you how I feel about you lying. So I feel like that was a missed opportunity to really not lean into that father-son broken relationship and them having more scenes together, because it just felt just so hollow from Gravik's perspective of where all this hatred is stemming from. And I said it in episode 1, but it's like, come on, you guys are an alien species that's been around probably longer than Earth. Why are you relying on a human being to find you another planet? And then, as I said in my episode 1 breakdown, where is Carol Danvers? Where is she in this whole situation? She's just been wandering space for 30 years. It's just so many moments. I'm just like, this is just so stupid to me that these scrolls are not capable to find their own planet. It's baffling to me. But let me get over to the comment section and see what y'all have been talking about so far before we get back into my my little rant session. And again, I'm going to try to make this highlighting the things that I appreciated, but I'm going to also keep it 100 with y'all as far as things that I just found to be a little bit lackluster in this finale and in this show in general. Let's see. Travis said that I feel like the series would have benefited from a prologue, having episodes, other Marvel shows being labeled Secret Invasion, like the comic books. Yeah, that's a great point, Travis. I mean, you could say Captain Marvel prelude of essentially introducing us to Skrulls and all that. And then this is kind of the follow-up, and then we'll see what happens with the Marvels. But no, I completely understand. This should have been more of a build-up, because how long has the Prime Minister, obviously we'll talk about Rhodes, how long have these powers, these people in power, these Skrulls in power been in power? Like things like that should have been set up before this because it was really rushed. I wish the show got Daredevil energy. How that show got 18 episodes, but everything else has gotten 6. Yeah, Johnny, it's a good question. And the rumor has it that they're actually going to be splitting those 18 episodes into a season 1 or a season 2 or part 1 of a part 2. But we won't find out for a while with all the delays going on. But yeah, that just to your point though, the 6-episode thing is just baffling. I am like 100% on the camp. All these 6 episodes, just looking back, besides Loki to me should have just been a movie. And this Secret Invasion is a perfect example of this should have been a film. Because if someone added all up the hour premiere episode, 55 minutes, 33 minutes, 34 minutes, like if you added up all the run times, you're probably looking at about close to a 3-hour film. But obviously you could have trimmed down a lot of this nonsense in the show. This would have been a perfect, well, I don't say perfect, but this should have been primed to be a movie, especially looking at the final outcome of everything. Justin saying, so WTF did I just watch? I'm gonna be respectful as possible to say it's short, but like I watch X-Men Origins, Wolverine, quality storytelling, MCU. I'm not happy. Yeah, I'm in the same camp with you. I'm just not as far as the happiness right now or lack of being a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan. I'm not feeling what's going on. Our budgets are big because catering. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to go into these budgets, these shows, besides just visual effects and whatnot. So yeah, man, that's what we should be talking about. These real scrolls on Earth, right? This show felt like a bad Purge sequel or Purge cross episode. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny, Travis. Yeah, you know what, Caitlin? Just a little side note. Is it me or do those deaths just feel like uneventful, non-impactful, and just glanced over? Maria Hill, and I don't need to remind you all because you're all Marvel fans like I am, but she's been here since 2012, right? And we've seen her Age of Ultron. Was she in Civil War? I can't remember. But I've grown. I'm a fan of Kobe in general, but I've grown to be a big fan of Maria Hill. And man, that episode 1 death just feels so, first off, it feels so long ago. And I think secretly, in the back of our minds, we've all was kind of like, is she dead? Who's really in that coffin? But I mean, by all stakes, yeah, she's not here anymore. And that sucks because it was just such a non, the impact of her death meant nothing to the show. The impact of her death meant nothing outside the MC. I mean, who's to say? Maybe it's addressed. I don't know. I honestly don't know. They address it in the episode when the mom talked to Fury, and I guess that's it. But man, that just, and I remember Kobe coming out saying before the show was released, like, oh, we really get to dive into Maria Hill and explore her relationship with Nick Fury. Did we? Maybe there was some stuff left on the cutting room floor. But man, and then to the Talos of it all, I'm very curious for those fans that watch the movies but don't watch the shows. When they don't see Talos again in the Marvels or in the future of the MCU, they're like, where's Ben Mendelsohn? What happened to him? Like his death. Oh my goodness. That just came and went. Gaia, she had the little burial thing, but like outside of that, it's like no acknowledgement at all. And I'm still like baffled by the fact that his wife and her mom died off screen. Like that was a character we met in Captain Marvel 1, and we met her at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. So it's just like these deaths in this show in particular is just kind of, I don't want to say pointless, but they don't have any weight to it. They don't have any gravitas or like real impact on like anything in the MCU. So it's just like it sucks because these are 2 great actors in these roles for, in the case of Kobe, for over a decade, and just to kill her in episode 1 and just kind of be like, it is what it is. And then Talos, like I thought that Talos was going to reveal to be, that was like a ploy or a fake out death, but nope, it was not. They should have introduced the harvest. And Mark, yes, that harvest should have been that should have been the show. Forget sure, you can have 1 or 2 government officials being taken over by a scroll, but the whole idea of the harvest should have just been the whole gimmick. That should have been a whole MacGuffin, is trying to get this harvest, because honestly, the way it was handled in the last week's episode, and now it's just like the whole point of the show was just to get the harvest, and like Gravik just being a sad puppy dog because Nick Fury, just as he says, pimped him out. Anyway, man, yeah, it should have been the main MacGuffin, but you know, it's a mess. To me, top tier Disney Plus is Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Yeah, I mean that's top. I'm gonna probably make re-rank my list. It's probably top 5 for me, but y'all, if y'all been watching these shows, y'all know where my lines lay. It is Loki, it is WandaVision, and that was 3 years ago. Everything else to me has been either okay, entertaining, or just flat out unnecessary. Um, but I will say Captain America was probably in my good. I liked it for the most part. Some of the stuff felt rushed. Flag Smashers trash. Power Broker reveal trash, and just like the handling of really not like fully leaning into Sam, why he really wanted to switch and be Captain America. Isaiah Brad, there's stuff that I think they could have fleshed out a little bit more, but it is way better than this show. WandaVision, Loki, Moon Knight, top tier shows. Yeah, Moon Knight's up there for me too. And like I just mentioned, yeah, Loki and WandaVision are the two of the best. In my opinion. Blurred Forever with the super chat. First and foremost, to all 36 of you all watching live, I appreciate you being here. And going back to this comment here from Blurb Forever, I appreciate the support on that level. Really, really do. Number one, The Harvest and Nick Fury collecting DNA is a Marvel phase movie alone. I agree. Number two, is Secret Invasion better than Moon Knight? No, in my opinion. What would you say to Kevin? What would I say to Kevin Feige? Well, first off, I would say, Kevin, call your boy Bob and get all the studios to pay writers and actors to make these projects that we all are, for the most part, fans of and appreciate the stuff that goes into these things that we love. So that would be the first thing I'll tell Kevin is to get Bob and take his foot out of his mouth from his comments he made weeks ago. But the second thing I would say from a fan perspective is, Kevin, if you're watching this, Kevin, what's going on, man? Stop it. Please stop it. 6 episodes, 33, 34, finales, 37 minutes long. Stop. Just stop, man. And also stop with these shows that are just setting up other shows and setting up other movies and not having like an actual television show. And this even goes for Loki. I love Loki to death. Y'all know this. But even that show, none of these shows are set up to be actual television shows in a sense of like, and not so much as Loki, but there are elements within Loki where I'm going to just use Secret Invasion, for example. What did Nick Fury learn from this show? Like the end of the show, things are in a in a much worse place than they were from the beginning of episode 1. So what lessons have Nick Fury learned at all, if anything? If anything, he might have rekindled. Well, not even rekindled, because before episode 1, he thought his relationship was strong, and then he found out that his wife was. I'm really baffled by what was the purpose of the show, number one, and what were the lessons learned from our main character, Nick Fury. And right now, I am sitting on nothing, zero. Like, seriously. And that's a lot of these shows. Like, they're just shows that are, like, again, little previews for things to come up maybe 3, 4 years, 4 or 5 phases from now. Because we'll talk about Gaia, who, listen, Emilia Clarke, lover, mother of dragons, will always be that. Always just big fan of hers. But the Gaia, oh my goodness, what they did with that was just baffling. So to go back to your initial comment for the third one, stop with these 6 episodes of just previews for the next Marvel project. It's getting ridiculous at this point. Like, it's very, very much kind of wasted space. The show has so much real potential. The ending was rushed, lackluster. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. From Zia. Kelly, is Gravik really Fury's son? I assume at the end he was just, that was just me spewing out what I would hope that story was going. But no, when we first met Gravik, they already established that he lost his mom and dad through the Kree War. So that wasn't like his actual like biological father, but in a sense of like adopting this alien from another planet and bringing him into the fold. That's how I look at him, as like more of a father figure more than anything. But yeah, man, some great comments. Keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. So let's pivot back into the breakdown. So again, we're cutting back and forth from the hospital to Fury. So now we have Fury and Gravik coming face to face. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Kingsley Benadir, who I think has been a a shining example of a lot of these top tier actors: Sam Jackson, Olivia Colman, Amelia Clark, Ben Mendelsohn, Don Cheadle. The list goes on. This is a great cast. You know, I will not take anything away from these actors. Try to really put as much meat and much gravitas and much punch into to the dialogue, to the story that just kind of fell apart. So he's talking to Fury and he's giving off, he's just laying it all out to Fury, right? And again, knowing that that isn't Fury, it's kind of like he's talking to a wall. Because Gaia, I mean, it's just doesn't matter to Gaia. She's never lived that. She doesn't understand the dynamic between those two because she didn't live it. But he's telling him, who the, well, I guess, I don't want to say big reveal, but a character reveal. He says, the significance of this face, why I rock this face is because this was the first person you had me kill. Which again, that whole like, you made me do this thing is a little bit of a trope, especially with Marvel. We've had several characters that are brainwashed, that were under the, obviously Winter Soldier and Hawkeye. I mean, there's so many characters that's been brainwashed or tricked or manipulated to do a certain thing without their own agency. But unlike those more mind control from low-key staff, Wanda being under control of the Darkhold or whatnot, those are like things that were like that put them under the influence. What Graphic is saying is, I looked up to you. You were my hero, and anything you said, I did. You told me to jump, I said how high, so on and so forth. So he's really spewing out to Fury, like, you were my go-to for anything and everything, and I did everything to make you happy. But obviously, I was doing that in hopes that you were going to find us a home. And again, y'all know how I feel about this. You guys are an alien species that have managed to, have technology beyond Earth's capabilities and shape-shifting abilities. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. The fact that they haven't been able, y'all have been spending 30 years, you telling me that you didn't have engineers or scientists or people within their beings or abilities to find another planet outside of Earth to inhabit. You've just been sitting here for 30 years. Just been sitting here, sitting on your hands, waiting for a human being to find you a home. It's some accountability from the scrolls, y'all. I'm just saying, accountability, Gravik. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, he's doing all that stuff, and it's if it was more developed, if it wasn't rushed, if it was more time with them, it would have been impactful. Because I mean, he's grabbing, he's like, look at me when I'm talking to you. Like again, y'all, these actors are playing it like a Shakespeare, man. They're giving us their all in this role, but it's just it's hidden on deaf ears for me because none of this matters. Which we'll definitely get into. A Marvel trope is just killing off these intriguing villains. But they're having a conversation, and then Fury, again, I knew it wasn't Fury, but just playing into the narrative, Fury tells him, yeah, I knew that I wasn't going to find, after a couple years of searching, I knew I couldn't find y'all a home. I just lived with the idea that the MCU has 8 billion people on Earth. I would rather have these 8 billion people's lives be safe and secure than threatening them to coexist with another species. So that was again, nice. It sounds good on paper, but it doesn't have any impact on screen, for me at least. But again, I'm going to try to focus on the positives and focusing on these actors giving me their acting abilities. I mean, this is Sam Jackson. If I'm Kingsley Benadir, this is probably a real life icon or someone he probably looked up to as an actor coming up. He's going, he's sharing a scene with one of the greatest actors, if you ask me, of our generation, and he's doing his thing, man. But unfortunately, like I said, it's just like these words have no meaning because the show really has no meaning at the end of the day. But again, applauding the good performances that we have on screen here. But the pills are gone. Fury's kind of on his last breaths, and he's telling him again, he's confessing that he really knew that there wasn't going to be anything found. And in order to make things right, he's going to go ahead and, again, mind you, why this is going on, I thought it was poorly edited. They're cutting back to the hospital. Rhodey Scrolly is having the president going from a different floor because Sonya had called him and said that Fury's coming, protect the president. They're setting all this up again. It's just like, okay, who really cares? And then another thing that's just kind of baffling from the president perspective, that should just been a giveaway. It's like, bro, my life is on the line, Brody. You're a goddamn Avenger. Where is your armor, bro? I know Rhodey, I think in episode 1, he says, I'm more, I don't, I wear, or was it this show? It might have been a different show. No, I think it was this show. I wear a different suit now, saying that I'm more into I'm going to use my words versus my fists. But it's just like, all right, put that philosophy aside and get, if you are Rhodey, where is your armor? Like, but anyway, he's doing all that with the president. Sonya's behind it. And again, we'll get their reveal here in a second. But back to these people. And one more thing, can I throw in here? I know the show has established that in episode 1 that the longer a scroll is in the shell of a human body, the harder it is for, number one, humans to distinguish if they're who they are. But more importantly, scrolls can't even distinguish another scroll because they've inhabited this shell. So correct me if I'm wrong, but before he gets the harvest inside of him, he's enhanced. He's a super scroll. He has the abilities of, Cole, the Beast from Thor, the Thanos' children from Infinity War and Endgame, and the Extremis and Groot. And he's also just a scroll with like more heightened abilities than humans. He wasn't able to tell that, number one, this is not a Fury role. Like, a thing that Fury would do is just give you this vial and just surrender to you. But also, like I said, the idea of like a scroll being in a shell so long, I don't know. And I don't want to say it's a plot hole, but it just seems like a logical thing to me that he would be able to see that that's not Fury, because obviously this is her first time being in Fury's skin, at least that we know of, at least in the show. That I just found it odd that he wasn't able to spot it out that she was in anyway. I'll let that go by. He was on his high horse. Maybe he was just he was in his zone. I don't know, but I would have thought that he would probably, if he's this super scroll, this leader of the scrolls, and just on top of his game, he would be able to. Anyway, time to get down to the ridiculousness of this episode. Sonya catches Rhodey slipping. She's behind a door. She has a gun to his head. And while that's going back to this, I'm going to try to find the screenshot here. But we have Fury gives Gravik the vial, and he connects it to a machine. And the machine pretty much verifies that what he just gave him, it's pure, it's authentic. And I don't want to spend too much time, but just looking at these names on the screen now: Gamora, Captain Marvel, Mantis, Cole Obsidian, Drax, Korg, Ebony Maw, the Frost Giant, Abomination. I mean, and the list goes on. I'm just gonna hit that button. Let me go back here. But I think I might have a screenshot of it. There, essentially anything and everything in Endgame is in his vial. Do I have a screenshot of it? Maybe I don't. My goodness. That to me is like a lot. That doesn't even make sense to me, that you could just scrape up a DNA and just put it in a vial and it just synthesizes itself, and you can, it's comics, doesn't have to make sense. All right. So he verifies it. He walks over to Fury and says, "Oh, you really must want to die," because he turns on the machine. And mind you, Gravik transforms to his scroll identity. Nick Fury doesn't, because again, the show is still leaning on the idea. And this is where narrative like trumps logic. The narrative still wants us to believe that it's Fury in the body, that it's Fury interacting with Gravik. But the logic just showed me that now when you're transformed, like we're seeing Gravik, he's getting into all this DNA being spread to him, is making him transform into what is in the vial. But no, the show says, no, we're going to keep you guessing. We're going to keep you thinking that it's Fury in this machine. And we see Gravik, he's transformed. He's Hulk mode. We've seen the trailer. We've seen the screenshots of it. He walks up to Fury. He throws a punch. And this is just super corny, cheesy. And look, if this was other show, if it was built up to this, maybe it would have been cool. But I thought it was like a, throwing a needle in an empty coliseum. You couldn't hear it. He catches the flow, catches the punch. I mean, and then I'm a scorehead. I love how scores can be a character and set the mood and the tone of a show or a movie. I like this score, but the score sometimes doesn't fit the stuff on screen. When Fury catches this punch and then ultimately punches him, or I should say her, Gaia punches him through the wall, and the score kicked in. Oh my goodness, y'all. When I tell you this felt so flat. Now, again, I know there's people at home that's either watching this or the replay or somewhere else in the world just enjoying their life. There's probably people at home that watch this and was like, oh my goodness, yes, I love this. This is so cool. And I love that for them, man. For whoever enjoyed that moment, the score kicked in, the shot kicked in. You were just like, oh no, what's going on? Like, I love that someone at home probably enjoyed the hell out of this. And that's great, man. But for me, this was one of the most hollow, anticlimactic fights. Number one, this fight was probably 2 minutes long. If we're really, I'm going to time it. This is when he punches her or she punches her. It's revealed to be Gaia. It was 18 minutes 32 seconds. So, and mind you, we're cutting between the hospital and this. I guarantee you that fight lasted probably 2 or 3 minutes, which is so rushed. And also the fact that he had the exact same powers that she had, but yet she mastered these. And also, too, I'm trying not to vent, but the fact that they're able to master their skills, master how to use Captain Marvel's abilities, know how to use Mantis abilities, know how to use the Ebony Maw. I was just like, what? I'm not saying you have to have a manual to teach you how to use these abilities, but it takes these heroes and these villains sometimes years to master their skill, but they're just like, oh my gosh, bro. This is what we've come down to. This fights two characters that are this fight between them is built on the idea that we haven't seen her mourn in person. I mean, she had her moment when she buried her father. I didn't see what I'm getting at is this is just a bunch of colors and shapes and objects on screen with no impact. This show just built all this kind of intrigue and this grounded story, this paranoia going on. Who's a Skrull? Can I trust the president? Can I trust my wife? It could have leaned into that. But instead, we have graphic, amalgamation of all powers versus, and before I say this, like I said, if y'all don't know me, listen, let me tell y'all something right now. Emilia Clarke will be, there's certain actors for me that when they play a certain role that no matter what they're in, and it could even be better than what I always picture them in, I always will love them for being a particular character. And regardless of Game of Thrones, I saw a tweet that people said Emilia Clarke's 0 for 2 for finales. There's truth to that, but she will always be Khaleesi. And that is an iconic character that I will always just love for what that character brought to that show and just the arc, the themes, everything with that character. So I will always just love Emilia Clarke. And I think she's a pretty talented actress outside of that, but I will always love her for being the mother of dragons. So I love the idea that Emilia Clarke is this super badass character with literally all the powers of let me see if I have a screenshot. Do I have it here? Yes. The powers of Groot, the power of Mantis, the power of Ebony Maw, the power of Drax, the power of Captain freaking Marvel, the power of Hulk. Question I ask for you all at home is moving forward, and we get the battle, and they're masters at the how to use these powers. Marvel's in November. Forget all that nonsense with what's going on with the villain and Carol and Photon and Miss Marvel, Maria, Monica Rambeau. Forget all that noise. If I'm Nick Fury, hey Gaia, we got a situation here. We're on sector 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, just 2 minutes tops to take her out. She is a one-stop cheat code. Whoever thought that that was a good idea to give, and this is not about a man woman situation. I don't care who the person is. You give a character all the powers of all, and that was just Thor, Black Panther. I'm pretty sure Spider-Man was another. The only person that I don't think bled on the battlefield was probably Wanda, because she was fighting Thanos and was untouchable. But everyone else was pretty much their blood, and again scraping it up. Like, oh my goodness, no one noticed that. Anyway, you have a human cheat code, and it's so frustrating because the power scale in MCU is all over the place. It's ridiculous that you gave one character, and you could have fixed it by a simple solution. Morally speaking, maybe she just puts enough in her system that she can only have this power for 10 to 15 minutes max before it kills her. Or once the powers are used, she, I'm thinking of Pepper Potts in Iron Man 3, where she takes the streamers out of her, they have the surgery. If they would have did that, fine. It was a cool moment to have. But now the fact that we have a walking, talking cheat code in MCU is crazy to me. Because literally, Miss Marvel or the Marvels later this summer or the fall, call her up, wipe the villain in 2 seconds. What's the next film after that? Captain America fighting all these Hulks. You got a power Hulk and Gaia, bring her to the forefront, wipe Red Hulk, wipe whatever the leader, wipe all that down. Thunderbolts, Sentry, evil Superman, call Gaia. She can take them out in 2 seconds. It is just so, I don't know how they're going to handle this moving forward. They have literally buried themselves in a hole because they didn't give her a kill switch. They didn't give her, again, if you have it too much in your system, you can kill yourself. None of that's been established in the show. She's the most powerful character that the MCU has ever seen. Point blank, period. No, there's no ways to dispute that. Thanos and Gamora, Captain Marvel, Hulk, Thor, Black Panther. Wow, Marvel. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing now. And again, I don't want to get it twisted. I love Emilia Clarke, the mother of dragons. That's cool, man. But it's just a writing thing to me. It's an issue. It's an issue for me, man. Now we just have this character that's just walking around. She's a nuclear bomb that's just walking around, and the way Marvel's been operating lately, we probably won't even, if I'm being honest with myself, we probably won't even see Gaia to like phase 7. You know what I'm saying? Like we probably won't see her to Secret Wars in 2028. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about Marvel right now. But anyway, putting my logical brain aside for a second, if I'm being a fan, if I'm being honest, comic book fan, Marvel fan, Emilia Clarke fan, it's cool. It's a cool idea. If it was another time, another show, if I didn't really invest in this show so much, if I was just cutting this on, like visually it was okay. Like it looked a little spotty at times, but again, knowing that this is a TV show, it's Disney Plus, and the visual effects have been kind of hit or miss, not just from Marvel, but from a lot of different properties in recent Hollywood landscape. It's cool, I guess, right? But cool only gets you so far. When you like sit down and think about what just transpired, it's just like, oh man, what have they done? But as that's going on, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up because I know Brandon's going to be starting his live here in a little bit, and I'm going to take some final questions before we wrap it up. They're fighting. I already showed the screenshot, but she ultimately, they do a Marvel trope. You have a great actor like a Kingsley Benadir. You kill them, right? Because that's just a smart thing to do. And you know what? To be fair, I think sometimes I think I'm guilty of this. We just assume that actors just want to be in all the projects and all the world, and they want to be in Marvel for 13 years. Not everyone wants to do that, right? Some actresses want, have this experience on their resume, enjoy their time with these actors that they spent, creators and writers and directors, and they just want to move on to the next project. So I'm saying as though Marvel dropped the ball on not killing the character, but maybe, King's like, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to move on and do something different after this. So maybe that's the case. Who knows? But they kill him. He's dead. He's done. He's no longer with us. All this stuff, War 3, killing all those scrolls. He's dead. And also she's dead. The Rhodey scroll is dead. As we see here, shot to the head. They're no longer with us. So that's the end of that story. So wrapping this thing up, So as this is happening, Gaia releases all the humans. By the way, it's said that you can't be in this radioactive area because it can kill you. It's hazardous to humans. And I'm sure you have to be there a little bit longer for you to actually die. But mind you, as they're releasing all these humans, no one's coughing. No one's affected by the radiation. They're just like, oh, where am I? Oh, my goodness. Okay. No one had, there's no gas mask. Anyway, as that's happening, we get the moment that number one, Everett Ross, he's released. He's confused. Again, the question at hand is, how long has the real Ross been in captive? But then the real question is that everyone's been kind of, wondering about is Rhodey, man. We get the shot here. Rhodey, we see him. And he's in a hospital gown. Now, I think that's important because as we see, we're assuming that everything that these people are wearing are the last things they wore before they were held captive, before they were kidnapped. So last time we saw Rhodey with this attire was this screenshot that I have for you guys here. If you're asking yourself, oh, where is that coming from, E? That is a screenshot from Rhodey when he went to get an MRI in Civil War. So again, hospital robes or gowns can vary, but this is similar. I mean, they're not very. They're pretty much standard. They look the same. It's not like a fashionable sense thing where they have different colors, different designs. They're pretty all standard. But the fact I'm getting at is, and the question at hand is, if anyone cares, which I'm sure they're going to explore this in his movie if that ever happens. Now, are we assuming that Rhodey has been a Skrull since Civil War? Now, I've seen a lot of the conversations being had on my Twitter feed about, man, if that's the case, that moment with him in Endgame kind of is just undercut because it wasn't really Rhodes, and I'm kind of in that camp too. And again, obviously, the memories of the Skrull has the memory, so of course the Skrull would probably react that way because he loved. Obviously we saw that with the captain from the boat who had the son who didn't launch the nukes because he obviously had his son that he loved and didn't want him to die. So they inhabit the emotions of the person they're scrolling or impersonating. So I get all that. But I'm very curious to know if it is the case that the last time we saw the real Rhodes is in Civil War. And I've also seen people say that, no, it was probably, that was really him in Endgame and in Infinity War. Was he in Infinity War? Yeah, he was in Infinity War and Endgame. And that was really him in Falcon and Winter Soldier. But maybe after Falcon and Winter Soldier, he was taken because I think someone had a screenshot. I wish I would have captured it, but someone had a screenshot that you could still see his leg braces in Falcon and Winter Soldier if you look at the episode. But again, I guess we'll find out if he ever gets his actual movie made and produced, because like I said, not only the writer's strike, but right now Marvel is in flux. A lot of these shows and movies that are announced years ago, Blade being one of them, is just like, what's going on? I don't know. The 19th director, 20th writers on the project, and there's delays that are happening right now with the strike. So who knows? But let me know in the comments, when was Rhodey last Rhodey? We end the episode on the president making an announcement that he's going to make an action to take out all Skrulls. He's going to kill them, is what he said. So he's ready to go to war with the Skrulls, which leads me to say, okay, how does Harrison Ford? Because, I think they kind of, unfortunately, let that cat out of the bag a little bit earlier than they should. But they announced when Harrison Ford was replacing William Hurt, who passed away, who played, General Ross, that he will be the new president when we see him next in Captain America, Brave New World. So are we assuming that president, which I thought he was going to die in this show, that someone takes him down, or his term is up before, all this stuff shakes down? So it's very curious to see how Harrison Ford's going to fit on. Is someone going to assassinate him? It's going to be really interesting to see what they do with the president. But the president does say, hey, Skrulls, we know you. He also says, like, we know who you are and how to find you. I don't know how they're going to do that. I guess now that all the people that are freed, they're going to be like, well, there's two of you, so let's just stab you and see if you become a Skrull before we kill you. Because if I'm being honest, and we're going to wrap this up here in a little bit because I think Brandon's live now, that was, and again, I'll give him credit where credit is due. this show was very dark. This is the darkest show that the MCU has given because they're showing people getting murdered on television. Like there's the shot of the newscaster being shot in cold blood. Obviously, we know it's a scroll. They killed the prime minister. That was actually the actual prime minister. Like there's vigilantes killing innocent human beings and people that think are scrolls. So it is a really dark world. And again, I said Nick Fury left this world in a worse place than when he found it. Coming back into episode 1, that's pretty dark stuff, man. So I'm wondering, like, the ramifications. How much is that going to affect the world of the MCU? Because there's people getting killed, and not just anybody. World leaders across the world are being assassinated. So it's pretty dark and grim. So I'll give it that. I'll give it the final moments with Priscilla and Fury having a moment of like acknowledging who she really is, calling her by a real name, in her real skin. All that stuff is good. All that stuff is there, but it's completely undermined by the majority of this episode just being fluff, being ridiculous, being outrageousage ridiculous. Again, I can go on and on and on, but again, I have a teenage Ninja Turtles to go to here and within the hour. And like I said, I know Brandon's going live, and I know E-Man's going live. So we're going to wrap this up, man. My final thoughts of this episode is not great. Very disappointing. Very rushed. Plots that just came out of nowhere that just felt like they were unnecessary. Character moments that I just feel like are ridiculous. I love Emilia Clarke. I like the idea of Gaia, but man, you just gave her the powers of every single superhero or villain with actual abilities to just do anything. That is a hole that I don't know how they're going to dig themselves out of. It feels like, and this is just generally speaking, it feels like Marvel, as I'm recording this and doing this live, how I feel at this very moment, I'm not that hopeful for Marvel right now because it just seems so messy, so convoluted, so janky, so rushed. So let's just do it for the sake of doing it and not having purpose. It doesn't feel good right now to be a Marvel fan. Now, that doesn't take away my excitement. I'm hopeful for the Marvels because I'm a big Nia DaCosta fan. I'm a big fan of Tiana Paris. Shout out to they Claude Tyrone, and she's just a great actress in general. Really enjoy Iman Vellani. I'm a fan of Brie Larson. I know the world hates her for whatever reason. I'm a fan of hers. So I want to see that movie do well. So fingers crossed there. And then all this, the projects after that, Deadpool 3, Captain Marvel or Captain America, Thunderbolts, Blade, Loki Season 2, Echoes. We'll see what's going to go by Echo. But I'm hopeful that those projects have something that just makes me happy to be a fan again. Because right now, man, it just seems so directionless and just so pointless, man. And this show, ultimately, by the 6th episode, I'm thinking to myself, what was the point of this show? What does Nick Fury learn? And what are the ramifications from the show? Are we going to see people getting murdered in cold blood in the next project? Are there going to be ripple effects to what just went down in this show? I guess we'll find out. All right, before we wrap it up, man, I got 100 comments that I have to address because I appreciate y'all leaving the comments here, and I'm going to get to them, and then we're going to call it a day and let my man Brandon do his thing and hopefully give you guys some good news about the new Turtles movie that I'm going to be seeing tonight. So I always say I should mark. Okay, I think I know where I left off at. Zia says, shake my head. No. Oh, yeah, the roadie. Like, yeah, you should have known that. Like, where's your suit? Why didn't you save me on the road when I was attacked by Russians and Skrulls, Rhodey? You're an Avenger, right? You have Tony, technology, armor. Where was that at when needed? There are so many plot holes. Yeah, man. It definitely hurts. This episode felt like Travis, not too far off, man. Also, didn't Talos leave Carol to find a planet? Don't even get me started on Carol, what she's been doing for 30 years. Oh my gosh, dude! Every time they bring her up, she's busy. She's off world. She's saving world. She's saving planets. All of this is going on off screen. I hate off screen development, and we'll see what they do with her in her movie. But my goodness, Carol Danvers, the laziest superhero that does so much off-screen stuff. It's ridiculous. They could have Thor, Gal. Yes, the list goes on, Justin. They could have had so many people. Oh my goodness, you're so right, my friend. I usually defend MCU with all my heart, but the finale felt a bit bland, just sad. So much potential. Yeah, Caitlin, you and me both. You and me both. I love Marvel, but man, you got to call it what it is sometimes, man. And the mighty have fallen. Screenshot with all the. I was definitely shoehorned in. Yeah, it's crazy. I enjoyed the fight, but it seemed out of left field. You kick yourself out of a stream. That happens. That's fun. My bad. Yeah, there's so much just craziness, man, in this show. Let me know if you guys can hear me too, because sometimes when you kick yourself out, it cuts off the mic. If someone could put a 1 in the chat, if you guys can hear me, I would appreciate it. Let me go back up to it. Oh man, it took away the spot I was at. 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. This show, you lying, Z. This show, I'm gonna have to look at it before I wrap it up. The most powerful character in MCU, no fan base, no stakes, and now she just wanders in the background. Yeah, it's just like the White Vision. Vision's just roaming around Earth, who knows what, doing what. There's a turn. This phase 4 and 5, man, is an eternal celestial being still in the middle of the Indian Ocean. There's 2 kaiju monsters of fighting in Egypt, and no one has addressed that. There's freaking dragons with Shang-Chi. Of course, that was another dimension, so I'll give it a pass there. The fight in New York with No Way Home. I mean, New York at this point is just like, oh, there's the sky's open. There's a portal in the sky. Oh, it's just another Tuesday. Let's move on. But it's just so many moments in Marvel right now. It's just like nothing connects. Nothing is talking to each other. This is supposed to be a cinematic world, and nothing's connecting with each other. I am very patient. I can be very patient, but it's just like, at what point 20 some projects into phase 4 is anything going to address anything? And it's at the point where nothing is connecting. It's very frustrating. Used to be Eternal threat level. Yeah. It's like y'all created the most powerful character on a Disney Plus show. It's crazy. Literally every power in MCU, she can control them immediately. That's what I said earlier. This is like she could just master these skills, and Gravik of that matter too. Both of them just mastered their skills like they've been doing it their whole lives. So, that's a thing. I really like the show overall, but can't defend the finale. Yeah, I mean the first 3 episodes were really solid for me, but it fell apart after episode 5 for sure. Episode 4 had some moments. But after that, man, it just kind of crumbled. Oh, hold on. Let me read that from Coyote before I move on. If Gravik and Gaia got powers at the same time, Gravik had this. Yeah, like I said, the whole fact that she seemed to have mastered her skills faster than him, and they had the same abilities. He wasn't able to heal from the. I don't know, man. Just weird route Marvel take approach to the recent project. Yeah, very weird, very lackluster, very underdeveloped for sure. Can't see the problem really. I enjoyed it and enjoy the Disney Plus since Can't see the problem, really. I enjoyed it, and definitely the best Disney Plus show since WandaVision and Werewolf by Night. Can't help thinking they should have ended it with the teaser Fantastic Four. Well, you know what, Jenna, I respect that. I'm glad. That's what I said. I'm glad if someone loved that. I love that for you, that you enjoyed it. I'm happy for you. I'm happy you enjoyed it. The best show since WandaVision. So over low key. Okay. That's what's up. Shout out. I love it. I love it. Yeah, no post-credit scene. They just going up on the spaceship, which, by the way, Saber with all the scrolls on there. And also, I didn't even like the fact that Nick is just like, all right, we're gonna go back to space with Saber because there's a Kree and Skrull peace treaty going on. So while Earth is dealing with, world leaders being killed on screen and mad genocide for any Skrull that's walking on Earth, we're gonna go on we're gonna do a peace treaty, and then we'll come back when needed. What? And then for Vera to be like, oh, I'll come with you and I'll come back to. What is going on, dude? What? It's a peace treaty on in space, right? Meanwhile, There's a million scrolls on Earth that's about to get massacred and get annihilated by humans because they know who they are. It's going to be a war on Earth. But no, let's go to space and just sign this peace treaty, and we'll just hope that everything's okay on Earth while we're gone. What the freak, bro? Man. More think about this show. Marvel will not address the Super Scroll Gaia. They will move on as if it wasn't there. Some way they don't acknowledge that there is a giant celestial peeking on the planet. Yeah. That's the way of the Marvel right now. It's just like, hey, to be continued. Never. They wasted. You know what? I did, Zia's. They did waste her, but she did. Like I said, with every actor, they did the most they can. And I guess we'll see what's going to happen with Gaia and Sonya moving forward, because they're a team now, right? Yep, Gaia gonna be the one Avenger squad herself, pretty much. Theory story could have been decent adapted to that storyline. Yeah, man, it was just so rushed, so freaking rushed. The finale was horrid. One of the biggest letdowns from Marvel. How do you fumble the cast? Yeah, it's a head scratcher. It's a head scratcher, y'all. So yeah, any final comments before we wrap it up, man? Again, I appreciate y'all. Again, I try to have fun and bring out all the good stuff when there, but it's hard to defend this, man. It really is. Just knowing what we know Marvel is capable of to seeing what we got on screen today was pretty disappointing as a fan. So look, man, brighter days are coming. Brighter days are coming. I'm gonna, the Marvels is gonna be great. Hopefully, Loki's gonna be fire. Let's not get that twisted. No matter what Jenna said, Loki's still number one for me. Season 2 of Loki's October. Not too hopeful with Echo, but I hope to be surprised in November. Again, the Marvels in November, and then we got many delays going on with the writer strike, so I don't know what's going to happen with Deadpool 3 and Captain America, but hopefully brighter days are coming, y'all. My true Marvel fans. Look, I'm a true DC fan at heart. Y'all know how I feel now. To be disappointed, and I defend a lot of DC projects, but I can't ignore some of the shortcomings of the DC universe. So yeah, I know how I feel. Another Marvel problems killing their villains. Yeah, but like I said, I think sometimes these actors might want to come in and do one thing and then move on. So maybe he was just like, yeah, just kill me. I'm not gonna probably come back. They should have freed Rhodey and everyone midway through the episode. The real Rhodey going to save the president, confronting Skrull. Yeah, that would have been great. That's a good call, Travis. That's a good call, man. Powers, Phrygia getting the final blow. Yeah. That sounds way better. That's the way it's framed. Yeah, what's going on? Like Wakanda too. Like, is there scrolls in Wakanda? It's just so much. Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. Connor Rhodes doesn't get a single line of dialogue. There's hints he's been replaced ever since Captain America, so he's wearing a good. Yeah, but yeah, and again, I understand you got to leave some things to be answered in other projects, like his movie. That would be a great way to kind of explore, like, if he did not witness the death of his best friend. That is a interesting character thing to explore, of that mourning process and processing the world being blipped and scrolls. It's a lot to process, so it's an interesting thing to think that that can be handled in his individual movie, if that movie is to happen. But we'll see. They're going to be that's what I'm saying. Like, how when the president said, "We know who you are. We're going to find you. We know how to find you." Like, is there something to scan? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, are they going to be stabbing a bunch of people? Well, and we saw what they did. They just killed people. So they're just going to be shooting people in the head and finding out, or like you said, cutting off a bunch of fingers. That's hilarious, man. That is legit hilarious. All right, y'all. So on that note, I really take control, man, for real. Thank you, Coyote. I really appreciate y'all, man. Like I said, my man Brandon Keith Avery is live right now, or Just My Opinion Reviews. I believe, thank you. Yes, hit the thumbs up. I believe E-Man's going live on top of the hour. So definitely check out their content. And as far as the content here, man, like, so I'm gonna be watching Ninja Turtles tonight, so keep an eye out for an out of theater reaction. And whenever the review embargo lifts for that, I'll be talking about that film. There are some shows that are returning that I'm excited to talk about in the coming weeks, like Winning Time on HBO, season 2. Big Lakers fan. Season 3 of Only Murders in a Building, and a couple other things that I've been watching the last few nights and I'm excited to talk about. So keep an eye out for all that stuff there. And on that note, you guys have been awesome. I really appreciate y'all. Again, hit the thumbs up before you leave. If you're watching this for the first time, consider subscribing and checking out my other content. Y'all be safe. Marvel, do better. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace out, everyone.